The Whispering Walls. The farmhouse stood at the edge of Willow Creek, Vermont, its weathered clapboard siding peeling like old skin under the October sky. Mea and Ethan had bought it for a steal, a fixer-upper to escape Boston's relentless hum. The realtor had warned them about the house's age, built in 1890, with creaky floors and drafty windows, but Mea saw charm in its quirks, and Ethan saw a project to keep his hands busy. They were young, in love, and ready for a fresh start. But as Mea stood in the living room, staring at the dust motes dancing in a shaft of sunlight, she felt the house watching her. They'd been there a week when Mea found the false wall. She was tearing out mildewed drywall in the basement, her hands gritty with plaster, when her crowbar hit something hollow. A dull thunk echoed, unlike the solid resistance of the surrounding stone. Curious, she pried harder, and a section of the wall gave way, revealing a narrow wooden door, its paint chipped and hinges rusted. Her heart quickened. She called for Ethan, who was upstairs sanding floorboards. "Ethan, you need to see this." Her voice bounced off the damp stone walls. He clamped down the stairs, sawdust clinging to his flannel shirt. "What's up?" His eyes widened when he saw the door. "Whoa. Secret room? That's creepy as hell." Mea pushed the door open, wincing at the screech of hinges. Inside was a small, musty space, no bigger than a closet. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling, its cord frayed. On a rickety shelf sat a tin box, rusted at the edges, and a stack of yellowed photographs. Mia's fingers trembled as she opened the box. Inside were letters, written in a delicate, looping script, and a child's rag doll, its face faded to a blank stare. "Whose stuff is this?" Ethan muttered, peering over her shoulder. The letters were signed by someone named Clara. Mea read the first one aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. October 12, 1965. "He says it's for my own good. But the walls feel closer every day. I hear the children playing outside, but I can't see them. He brings me food, but it's never enough. I don't know how much longer I can stay silent." Mia's stomach twisted. "Who's he?" she asked, looking at Ethan. His face was pale, his jaw tight. "Probably some old tenant," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "This house is ancient. Could be anything." That night, Mea couldn't sleep. The house groaned under the weight of the wind, and every creak sounded like a whisper. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining Clara locked in that tiny room, her words trapped in ink. Ethan slept soundly beside her, oblivious to the unease coiling in her chest. Around midnight, she heard it, a faint, rhythmic murmur, like voices muffled by the walls. She sat up, heart pounding. The sound was coming from the hallway. She slipped out of bed, grabbing her phone for its flashlight. The hallway was dark, the air heavy with the scent of old wood and damp earth. The whispers grew clearer as she approached the basement door, a soft cadence like a conversation just out of reach. She hesitated, her hand on the knob. The rational part of her mind screamed to go back to bed, but curiosity pulled her forward. She descended the stairs, the cold concrete biting her bare feet. The whispers stopped abruptly, leaving only silence and the pounding of her pulse. The basement was empty, the false wall still ajar. She shone her light into the hidden room, half expecting to see Clara's ghost staring back. Nothing. Just the tin box and the doll, its blank eyes glinting in the beam. Mea shivered, convincing herself it was just the wind playing tricks. But as she turned to leave, a photograph slipped from the shelf and fluttered to the floor. She picked it up, her breath catching. It showed a woman with dark hair and sad eyes, standing in front of the farmhouse. On the back, in the same looping script, was written, Clara, 1964, before he took the light away. The next morning, MEA showed Ethan the photograph. He frowned, his fingers tracing the woman's face. She looks familiar, he said, but shook his head. Probably just my imagination. Let's not get obsessed, okay? We've got enough work to do. MEA nodded, but she couldn't let it go. While Ethan was out buying lumber, she read more of Clara's letters. They painted a chilling picture. Clara had been married to a man who locked her in the basement, claiming she was unwell and needed to be kept safe. She wrote of hearing her children's laughter through the walls, of begging to be let out, of her husband's cold assurances that it was temporary. The last letter, dated 1967, ended mid-sentence. I can't do this anymore. Tonight, I'll. Mia's hands shook as she set the letter down. What had happened to Clara? Had she escaped? Died? She searched the house for more clues, checking every corner, every loose floorboard. In the attic, she found a child's drawing tucked behind a rafter, a crude sketch of a woman in a dark room, with the words "Mamar, where are you?" is scrawled in crayon. That evening, over dinner, MEA told Ethan everything. His face darkened, and he pushed his plate away. MEA, stop. You're turning this into a ghost story. It's just old junk from people who lived here before. But what if it's not? She pressed. What if Clara was trapped here? What if she's still? Enough. Ethan snapped, his voice sharper than she'd ever heard. You're letting this house get in your head. Drop it. His reaction startled her. Ethan was usually calm, even-tempered. She nodded, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Why was he so defensive? She started watching him closely, noticing how he avoided the basement, how he changed the subject whenever she mentioned Clara. And the whispers didn't stop. Every night, they returned, louder, more insistent, as if the house itself was trying to speak. A week later, MEA visited the town library, a squat building with sagging shelves. The librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Hargrove, listened as MEA asked about the farmhouse's history. Her face tightened. That place has a dark past, as she said, lowering her voice. Belonged to the Warrens in the 60s. Henry Warren was a mean man, kept to himself. His wife, Clara, disappeared one day. Folks said she ran off, but I never believed it. She loved her kids too much. Mia's heart raced. What happened to the kids? Sent to live with relatives after Clara vanished. Henry sold the house and left town. Nobody's seen him since. Back home, MEA confronted Ethan. Why didn't you tell me your dad grew up in this house? As she demanded, holding up the photograph of Clara. This is your mother, isn't it? Ethan's face went white. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, Ethan. The librarian told me about the Warrens. Henry was your father. Clara was your mother. You knew, didn't you? He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. I didn't know for sure, he said, his voice barely audible. My dad, he never talked about her. Said she left us when I was little. I thought this house was just a coincidence. MEA didn't believe him. The whispers grew louder that night, almost forming words. Find me. Free me. She couldn't sleep, her mind racing with questions. If Clara had been locked away, where was she now? And why was Ethan so reluctant to dig deeper? The next day, while Ethan was at the hardware store, MIA returned to the basement. She searched the hidden room again, her flashlight sweeping over the walls. She noticed a faint seam in the stone, barely visible. With a hammer and chisel, she chipped away, revealing another door, this one smaller, hidden behind a layer of mortar. Her hands trembled as she forced it open. Beyond was a narrow tunnel, damp and cold, stretching into darkness. She followed it, her phone's light shaking in her hand. "Then why are you so scared?" MIA stepped closer, her heart pounding. "What are you hiding?" Before he could answer, the whispers returned, louder, filling the chamber. "He knows. He knows." Mia's blood ran cold. She grabbed Ethan's arm. "Tell me the truth, Ethan. Now." He collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "I found her," he whispered. "When I was 10. I came back to the house one summer, sneaking in through the basement. I found the tunnel, found her. She was barely alive. She told me to run, to never tell anyone. I was scared, MEA. I didn't know what to do. So I ran. And when I came back, she was gone." Mia's heart broke. Ethan had been a child, terrified, carrying a secret too heavy for him. But there was more. "Your father," she said. "He's still alive, isn't he?" Ethan nodded, tears streaming down his face. "He lives in a cabin in the woods, a few miles from here. I didn't want to believe he could do this, but I think he's been watching us." That night, MIA called the police. They searched the cabin and found Henry Warren, now an old man, living like a hermit. In his possession were Clara's wedding ring and a locket with her children's photos. He confessed to locking Clara in the basement, claiming she was a hysterical and needed to be protected. When she grew too weak, he moved her to a hospital under a false name, where she died. He'd kept the house's secret buried, selling it to erase the past. The police found Clara's remains in an unmarked grave near the cabin. Ethan was devastated, grappling with guilt for staying silent. MIA stood by him, though their relationship was strained by the weight of the truth. They moved out of the farmhouse, unable to live in its shadows. Months later, MIA published Clara's notebooks, a memoir titled The Whispering Walls. It became a bestseller, giving Clara the voice she'd been denied. The farmhouse was turned into a memorial for victims of domestic abuse. Its walls no longer whispering but singing Clara's story to the world. MIA never heard the whispers again, but she felt Clara's presence in every quiet moment, a reminder that some truths, no matter how deeply buried, will always find a way to be heard.